I just love my daughter. It's not for me.
Christmas music playing. I'll play it. Do any of you gentlemen need any water or drink? Can I get you anything?
I'm good.
Oh. Got something for you. The time is 6:28. You do need to be signed up to speak. If you would like to do so, Secretary Ann is over here and she'll be happy to assist you.
Explain to them about the new system for signing up to speak, because these people don't know.
Secretary Ann's there to explain. We do have a new system. So you'll sign up and speak at the beginning. So there's one sheet and you put your name on it and you sign up with 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, whichever agenda items you would like to speak with, or a general comment. So
So, for my clarification, you talk on
I'm
an
gonna show
item
you.
before the item
let
comes
me
up.
show you.
Exactly.
As state law. State law is that you have to have it chance before item.
It's time.
Okay, the time is 6:30 p.m. Welcome to our Poetry Town Council meeting for our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Thursday, November 21st, 2024. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, and valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing views. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcomed. However, this town council meeting is not the time to ask questions or for interrogations. We encourage anyone having questions to come either to talk with us at a break or after the meeting to email or schedule a meeting with us. At this time, I need to remind the public that disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, Any person who makes a profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting would be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. At this time, Town Secretary Ann Hamilton will call us to order. Take roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Blake,
Here.
CM Mike Jaffe,
Here.
Councilmember Tom Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Terry Fowler,
Here.
Councilmember Simeon White.
Here.
I forgot that you. Mayor Tara Sinkovich.
Here, and quorum is confirmed. Thank you, Ann. At this time, we have Citizen Mike Griffin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise, and then after, stay standing for the invocation.
Please join me for our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bow your heads, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life, for allowing us to live in this country, in this state, and in this community. We thank you for the multitude of blessings that you have bestowed on each one of us. We thank you for the opportunity for us to gather and be here this evening. We ask that you please help us to think about you in everything that we say and think and do. We ask that you please guide all of our thoughts, our decisions, and our actions to the benefit of your kingdom. Teach us to recognize your presence in each other. May the Lord bless us, protect us from all evil, and bring us to everlasting life. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so we do have a new format. So at this time, any citizens who have signed up to speak will be speaking at this time on the agenda. You have a total of 3 minutes. You may speak on any agenda item or non-agenda item. And if it's a non-agenda item, the council can only respond with factual information, however. We may consider putting citizen concerns on a future agenda. So, okay. All right, so we have 3 citizens. Doug Kendrick.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Kind of got rearranged here, my talking, because I wasn't aware of the new changes, to get familiar with the items that are on. I had 2 of them on the blackjack and then also on the grant program, which is, as far as the grant program, great stuff to hear that we were able to get any kind of grant program here in the community. Question on that would be if, is there going to be some sort of committee or the council going to be the ones that approve the projects that the grant committee, that the grant is going to go to? So that's one of my questions I had. So maybe or maybe not that would be discussed on an item discussion. On the blackjack, I was questioning the 55 cents or the increase, basically just an increase in itself starting in January, my understanding. Of course, again, trying to hear what the reasoning for the increase would be. Concerning would be, is that an increase that we're going to be prepared as the citizens are going to pay every annually when the contract comes up or whenever that contract comes up? Is that always going to be a place for them to have an increase, and how much? If there's going to be a limit on the increase as they try to increase our service. And I understand and I'm fully aware of companies are trying to survive, but at the same time, is there a limit on how much and when are they actually going to keep raising our increase? So those are my 2 questions that I did have for this tonight, goes. So Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Doug.
Okay. The contract itself does have a limit, but we can get into that at that time. Shelley Smith?
Okay, first of all, on the agenda, Josh Sinkovic should not be signing contracts for the town. I feel like you need to look into the law on that item.
He is not.
It showed it on the contract, and see, without having a chance to discuss it, how do I know? Okay, it was in the packet. Poetry flag does not need the mayor's campaign slogan on it. I think that's a very, very bad idea, and I think that should any of the council then decide to run after this year, that you need to worry about, that you're using her campaign slogan. Also, I tend to agree with Tom Anderson this time. Tom mentioned that we need to do a special way to determine which roads get repaired and when. And I strongly recommend that you get a counter of some type so you can measure the traffic that goes down each road. So you know that when a dead-end road that only has 20 people living on it is not a high priority road. And/or have your volunteers sit at a certain point on a certain road and count the number of cars on a daily basis. I think you need to set up an actual system for this and not just fix a road when somebody is a squeaky wheel. And then also on the blackjack thing, have we gotten any competitor bids for anybody else that would like to be our trash person? We're just kind of like letting them just run the thing. So there you go. I think that this system is a very bad system. Once again, we can't hear what you guys are discussing beforehand, and so we're just winging it. We're really probably just wasting our time because I doubt that you're even going to bring up what we discuss. What else? My 3 minutes are not up, so I can say anything because you can say anything in general comments and can't be stopped, correct? So, yeah, I think that we need a little bit better citizen input on this. We need better people to listen to the citizens. You need to encourage the citizens to be a part of it because you guys are here to serve the citizens. You're not here to serve yourself. And by shutting the citizens out, it's obvious you don't want to hear what they say. You don't want to listen to what they say. You don't want to use any advice that they give you. And there's some great advice that's come out of this crowd. Great advice. But the people sitting up here just blow it off because it's not their idea. Well, if it's not your idea, that doesn't mean that it's a bad idea. And sometimes you guys have great advice.
Your time's up.
Certainly.
Thank you, Shelley.
All right. Scott Leahy?
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
3 quick comments. There was one regarding the change of when the speaking citizen time is. The idea a long time ago, if I recall correctly, was to let the citizens speak on the general comments up front so they don't have to wait to the end of the meeting because the meetings were running very long. But I guess it was understood, or my assumption would be that the citizens would still get to comment on each agenda item as it was being discussed by council, because we really can't ask questions, and sometimes we're asking or make statements until we know what's going on. So the idea of having the general comments up front and then but still being able to speak on each agenda item would be what I would advocate for. I couldn't agree more about a scoring system or a point system to determine which roads get repaired and which roads don't based on traffic, number of citizens, number of houses. It has to be a scored point value system so the town knows it is spending its limited funds in the best way getting the most bang for their buck, I guess is the right way to say it. So, And I did have a question on number 6 about the flag, and we may get to it, but I didn't know if there was a timeline on the submissions on that, if there was anything, a due date, if I had anybody that wanted to put in an idea. I didn't know if we had a deadline on that, and so I was curious. So,
There's no deadline on that.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, those are our 3 comments from citizens. Thank you for your input. Okay, on to items of community interest. We have thanks to Councilmember Tom Anderson, Kevin Sinkovich, and Syncor employee Yale Smith for installing the new flagpole. And on October 12th and 13th, I left that off last month, so I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this month. Thanks to Secretary Teresa for volunteering to assist the cleanup day. Terry and Jerry Chambers also cleaned up the roadways. Thank you to them. Thanks to the 2 volunteer road teams who worked on CR 249 and 4 Post Lane on October 25th. Kevin Sinkovich, Herbert Fletcher, there's a typo there. We had Herbert Fletcher Jr., Josh Sinkovich, Mayor Sinkovich, Mike Griffin, Trevor Kruger, Bud Dennis, Herbert Fletcher Jr., Billy Joe Metters, and Zach Lee. I found it today, it's actually Zach Lee, Z-E, for Zechariah. Thanks to the November 15th, the 2 volunteer road teams, it's been kind of nice to have all this help. We have Sherry Vinson, Kevin Sinkovich, Herbert Fletcher, Ken P., Mayor Sinkovich, Herbert Fletcher Jr., Zach Lee, Keith Fletcher, and Darrell Watson. So, we do have coming up this Saturday, we have the Volunteer and Donor Appreciation with a hayride. It's 4:30 to 6:30. If you haven't received one of these in the mail and you have donated as little as 30 minutes to 30 hours, you are most welcome. And also, if you've donated $5 to $500 or beyond, you are most welcome as well. So we just want to have a kind of a celebration of you and appreciation for all of our volunteers and donors. And so there will be a DJ there, there'll be a hot dog bonanza, and a hayride. So, and cake. That was Tom's request. Cake. Okay, and then also we have coming up in December, we have approved by council the Evie Anderson Christmas Lights Contest in her memorandum. Of 2024, it'll be for all Poetry residents and Poetry ETJ residents. We have where you can, if you want to enter the lights, if you really enjoy Christmas and you want to decorate your yard or pasture or whatever you want to decorate, you can sign up, and there's lots of good prizes. So we have first place, second place, and third place baskets, and they have gift certificates to restaurants and candles and all kinds of gifts that they're acquiring to put together for that. And then the Christmas lights event, we're going to have actually a petting zoo this year, holiday characters, live music by the PCCS praise team, and the Pickett Family Singers. So we're just going to spread the Christmas cheer. And additionally this year, I added that we would solicit laundry detergent pods and toilet paper to donate to the Genesis Center of North Texas. So I talked to Amanda Lewis, who happens to be the former mayor of Forney. She's now the director of the Genesis Center, and sadly she lost her husband in an airplane crash this summer. And I just wanted to bless them and just let them know we're thinking about them. And I asked her specifically, you know, what can we do specifically to help your ladies? You know, the Genesis Center is phenomenal. It helps battered and abused children. They, you know, in a domestic issue, and they give them a home. They train them. They, you know, they give them Bible classes. They really help them, and they get them set up in their new apartments. And after they've gone through successfully the training there. So they specifically are needing laundry pods and toilet paper. So I'm gonna encourage
What
that.
airplane crash, Tara?
So he was actually getting ready to go. My understanding, he was getting ready to go for a charity event. He was with a pilot, and yeah, it was this summer. It was tragic.
Was that the one of Rowlett?
I don't recall the specific details. But
Wow.
yeah, it was tragic.
Wow.
And she's She's like, not even, I don't know if she's in her 50s, but anyway, very sad. So, okay, and you can sign up by emailing contact@poetrytexas.org if you would like to enter that lights contest. Okay, moving on to G, our reports. Okay, we have the sales and use, or excuse me, we have the October end report. And it looks like it got left out of my packet. Thank you. All right, October end report, we've got the $155,198.13 beginning balance. We've had deposits of $19,540. That was the Blackjack franchise fee from quarter three of $11,367.50, and then the sales and use tax revenue, and then the one was some returns. So then we have Amazon, where we have several withdrawals and debits, $32.70.33, and checks paid of $16,984.62. A lot of that was we got our skirting done for Town Hall. The building leveled before we got the skirting on. That was one of the things that they wanted to see. The roads was $4,500, or and legal bill. So, and then our annual risk pool insurance. Okay. Thank you. All right. We have our sales and use tax revenue sheet here. So for October, we had the $8,149.79 in sales and use tax revenue. So that leaves a road fund balance at $102,896.58. Our general fund balance is at $51,587.53. Okay, moving on to the Q4, the actual with amended approved budget. So we had amended the budget over last year. We had some changes, so we had to plug those into the QuickBooks and then compare that to what we actually spent. So we're still in really good stead. We had, you can see there the franchise fees for electric and Encore and FECs. It was at 81.6%. However, the trash franchise fees, we hit it pretty good, 98% there. Our total income was at 94% of what we projected. On expense side, we kept the salaries for the secretaries is at 92% there. Legal fees, we were at looks like it's 70. I need a marker here. 77% on that, so that was good. Capital expenditure on the building improvement, 96.6%, so we're good there. We did have to move around some of the potholes. We spent more on what was actually tree felling and signs and pothole repair. We spent more on that than we projected, so we moved money out of the refurbishment road fund into the pothole road fund. So, and then of course we had to move the election expense. We had that annual election expense we had to move back, so we took that out of the rainy day fund. So, but actually our total expenditures were only at 55.8%, so we're actually doing very well fiscally. So, okay, and then Councilmember Blake had actually asked about the H14 project sheet. And this is one we had approved several months ago, I believe. And so I talked to, I called on Monday and I talked with Monroe, and then I talked with him again today, Commissioner Monroe. He said they're checking on it, and actually we're going to meet in the morning and kind of talk about exactly where they want that done. I think they had some question as to And that one, if you remember, that one was the one where we wanted them to take care of the ditches and clean them out so that we were having some flooding in the severe rain last spring, and so that needed to be cleaned out so that it will flow properly. And so there's additional concerns. Now, part of that project sheet was actually over there on Grande Verde, and the gentleman who was having that issue where it wasn't flowing properly and actually backed up flooding in nearly to his home. And he went ahead and just paid to have it done. He didn't want to wait for the county to do it. So he was just concerned. And he was the one that requested it, but then he went ahead and paid for it. I'm going to try and talk to them tomorrow morning. We're meeting to see what, on 23, 26 has several issues. So we're going to try and address those. Did you have any other questions?
No, that was just curious
Okay.
what was happening with it.
Yeah. Okay. Secretary's memo. Secretary Ann.
All right, Secretary memo. On November 13th, fire lane concrete work was completed at the town hall. Many thanks to Leland and crew. The new Town of Poetry Incorporated and Founded signs are in. TxDOT for both Hunt and Kaufman County installed these on November 13th. The Town of Poetry will host its first volunteer donor appreciation night on November 23rd from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. The evening will include hay rides, a hot dog bonanza, an old classic and country music will be performed by DJ Steve Frazier. Watch for your invitation in the mail. If mail is delayed and you are a volunteer or donor in past, please call Town Hall office and don't hesitate to attend the event. The Town Hall offices will be closed next week, Thursday, November 28th, 2024 for the Thanksgiving holiday. Alternate office dates and hours will be Friday, November 29th, 2024, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. In accounting and in regulatory compliance, Deputy Secretary Teresa Scholander is presently working with our auditors to provide all documents needed to complete the September 30th, 2024 annual audit. Reminder, the Secretary and Deputy Secretary's office is open outside of next week, Thursdays 1 through 7. We've extended hours for people who can't get in during normal business hours. And that is all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Okay, so we have the minutes on the consent agenda. Moving on to H, consent agenda, minutes from October 17th.
And I had several edits. Tar, did you get them in, or?
Yeah, she emailed those out additionally.
Really? I didn't get one.
You didn't get it?
I did email, I just updated the ones in the packet online.
Oh, you didn't email. Okay, so she updated. Oh, I thought you sent them out to the council.
No, I just updated it. I'm sorry.
So she updated the online packet, but didn't apparently send the, so there was, you want to go ahead and go over that? Actually, we got to move that in order to talk about it. So.
Yeah,
So do we have a motion to move that?
I'll make a motion to move it.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that passes. We'll make item 1, item A on the agenda. Okay, approving the September legal bill of $2854.75. 100% of this is for the Wes Smith Aiken versus Poetry lawsuit.
I have a few questions. If I make a motion, we move it to the regular agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. That'll be item B then.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Me.
Okay.
Number 3, approve the annual insurance bill for parking lot, $681.79 from Urban XPT Specialty. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, number 4, approve the annual subscription for Microsoft Systems for all council and staff through Computer Solutions East, $835.20.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay. And just on the comment on that, so since I'm not a techie and my son is the techie, he talks the lingo and he gets the initial bid, but in no way does he ever sign off on anything. I sign off on all that and one of these co-signatories. All right, so on the regular agenda, we have item A, approving the minutes from October 17th, and we made those, I thought we made those edits, but we'll have to talk about those now.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just go through real quickly.
Okay.
The first one is in item G, financial reports. It's actually for September, not August. And then item 1B, sales and use tax receipts. Total expenditures shows $39,983. It's actually $40,949.23. And the following item is sales and use tax income, shows $517.29. It's actually $9,517.29.
Yeah.
And coming down to item I, on the update on Bishop Airfield LLC MUD, coming down to the third line where it lists the Bishop Field flight.org, it's actually singular, it's Bishop Field, not Bishop's Field.
Yeah, I had a hard time hearing that one.
I'm sorry?
I said I had a hard, because you remember we had some sound issues last time, and I had a hard time
Oh, okay.
hearing that
It's-
one, and I noticed that they changed the email address, or their website address from what they had originally said it was gonna be, so.
Yeah, okay.
All right, any other
Yeah,
suggestions?
item 7, I had noted on the second line down, proposed barbecue, it's a hot dog meal.
That changed, yeah.
And then over on item 8, the fourth line down, where it says particularly, well, fifth line down, towards the right, it says particularly on roads like 2434, it's actually CR 2434. And that was all I had.
Okay, my copy has them all corrected.
Okay.
Thank you so much, he's like the
I
best.
do want to ask you, number 7, what was your correction, the barbecue?
Oh, it says on the second line, it says proposed barbecue.
That was proposed, that was the initial proposal, we talked through that. So I think this is correct, because it was a proposal for barbecue and 35 people, and then that's when I questioned that there's more than 35 people, and that's when we went another direction.
Put it on the forum.
On the
Yeah,
forum.
so I
they
think
switched
this
it to
is,
hot
I
dog.
think this is a correct reflection of,
So,
We didn't talk about hot dogs?
No, not till the forum.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
okay.
No, I would leave that barbecue.
So, yeah, I think I left it, set date for volunteer appreciation meal, and then a proposed barbecue, and that's accurate.
Okay,
That's
that's
exactly
fine.
what happened, so. All right, so, do we have a motion on that?
Motion to approve with changes.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, seconded by Anderson to approve the minutes with those corrections. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Simeon, you did raise your hand, did you?
Yes,
Okay.
he did.
Yes, I did.
My question on H2 is where we're at with our totals on the expense of this. I guess you put in there that this one was 100% for West. I look back over the last 3 agendas. This puts us like $54.90,
And 66 cents.
I had,
67 cents.
yeah, it's close to,
So we budgeted 5,000. So
no,
if
4,000 last year, and 5,000 this year.
it was split. Okay,
Yeah, good
that's all
question.
I needed.
Motion to approve the bill then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Excuse me.
Okay, we have a motion by Fowler, seconded by Blake. All those in favor? And Simeon, that passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to the regular agenda, item 1. So the volunteer road team, $6,500 to rework 4-post lane using 8 to 9 dump trailers of new asphalt and a rented roller to make it more functional for residents. Herbert Fetchel to provide details. So you recognize this is the road that is really in bad shape, arguably the worst road in the town. the council, of course, denied the 86,500 quote that we received from Texas Materials. So, because we're looking at our budget numbers, right? So Mr. Fletcher, who's been helping with the volunteer rose team, had an idea, and I thought that it would be good to have him here to go ahead and stand up, speak to us, please,
Hello,
sir.
I'm Herbert Fletcher. I live in Portree. I'm not an expert on roads, and I don't want to be. So I just been helping Kevin and the mayor and everybody do my part, I think, to help patch them. But I've been noticing the road crews as I drive by and been watching what they do. And something caught my eye the other day on Duck Cove out in Lake Tawakoni. I was doing a little job out there, and I'd done one. I built a house out there about 8 years ago, and when I was out there, I'd noticed that they were dumping asphalt on the road with a dump truck, taking a skid loader and smoothing it out as much as they could, and then taking a roller and rolling over it. And they were doing the same thing again the other day when I was out there, but I got to noticing where they had done it before. I thought, wow, that's still there. Why couldn't we do something like that instead of spending all that money on Gate Lane to fix it that, 20 residents drive down instead of using that kind of money for a main thoroughfare? And it was just something I threw out there at them to see what they thought. But I'd sure like to give it a try. It beats with a shovel. And
Can you say it again? I didn't understand you, sir.
well, what they did was they just went out there and they took a dump truck and they dumped a load of asphalt, and then they used a skid loader to level it. And then they took a roller and just rolled it out, and it looks pretty neat. And it lasted. At least the one that they did I'd seen 8 years ago is still there, and no holes in it, no cracking, no nothing. And I thought, well, that might be some idea that we could use, that instead of having a crew come out there and spend them $100,000 to fix a road that we don't have the funds to do. But I thought, a few trailer loads would be sufficient to fix this road, and enough volunteers to run the tractors and pull the trailers and run the roller. We could all work on it probably a day and get at least where you could drive down it without bottoming out or tearing your vehicle up. I know people live on that road and they're just like, man, I can't keep tires on my car. I can't keep my front end lined up. So, and I feel their pain because I hit these roads all the time on mine, and I'm always alignments, tires, whatever. So, but spending $80,000 to fix that road, I just thought, that's a lot of money. So, I just thought I'd throw that out there at you. And like I said, I've seen them do it, and I've checked the ones that they did 8 years ago, and it's still there, and it's not all cracked up and broke. So I thought this might be a way of fixing that road.
And it's actually not far off from what we've already done on that road. So Four
Right.
Post, because it is disintegrating literally, when they tried to do pothole repair, it just wasn't adequate. There's no real way to do. There's not potholes. It's just disintegrating. So
Right.
they've done 2 loads in this fashion already, and so it's the first stretch of the road. You can see where there's the asphalt there, and so because it was. If you go on further about midway to the road, it's a third of a mile, but about midway, you'll see where it's disintegrating again. So that front of that road used to look just like that. So you can see where they've already done 2 loads, and that was an effort to try and help this poor road. So it's not too far off from what we're already doing, but we recognize that that we can make this road a whole lot more manageable and functional for these
Well, on down the
citizens.
road, there's not potholes. I mean, half
It's-
the road's missing.
Right,
And it's just like there's nothing there no more except road base.
It's not
So,
really repairable, but this
a
actually
shovel's not
worked
gonna
better
fix
than
it.
when we thought. So
Yeah.
the actual just kind of smoothing it out, and part of that would go, I think it's $300 a day is what you said, to rent a roller.
Roller,
So if we did the cold mix asphalt, spread it with the tractor, then went over with a roller, we think we can get a pretty decent service for, a functional roadway for these citizens.
Something that they can drive down without tearing their cars up, hopefully. That's all we're trying to do is fix it to where we don't keep out having to maintain our cars too. But just an idea.
And the $6,500, of course, would include the roller rental, but I think that could, we know from the quote that Texas Materials gave us that they actually use, it wouldn't be going to waste necessarily. So on down the road, if we happen to get a grant or if we happen to have more money and we did excoriate the road, they take all that, they use all that over. It's not going to be wasted. So I think that's a needed clarification, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
So how much is hauled per trailer load?
It varies, but you mean like a 5 ton? Each trailer that
Either
we've
tons
been,
or yardage, either one.
5 ton is generally a little over sometimes.
10,000 pounds?
Yep. In dump trailers.
Okay. What's the length of the road
It's a third of a mile.
and the width?
It varies, but it's from 18 feet to 18 and a half feet.
Okay. And then thickness of the application?
But you're just gonna skim coat it, it's gonna be.
It
thin.
varies.
Well, to his point though, I mean, one, if you're gonna put a smooth drum roller on it, your compaction rating's, probably quadrupled anything that we've done with a pickup truck, so you've gotta think about that compaction. And if the application is too thin and water seeps in, we all know that that's the nemesis anyways, so I would be, I'm not against it, I'm for spending the money, but maybe 6,500 is not the right number, and that's what I think we need to spend a minute to work through that.
So
You
what,
think it's not enough, or?
Not
I don't
enough.
feel like it's enough money.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're gonna have to put down 2 inches if they're gonna
well,
compact it.
here's the thing, for one day of workers, that's enough.
Well, but you're using equipment now, and that's another
Yeah.
question, who's bringing the skid steer? There's no rental fee on here for skid steer.
Well,
We're
we,
gonna use tractors.
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, we have people volunteering tractors for that. So, yeah, no, we recognize it may not be complete, but when you're using volunteer help,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But if we need to put another 1,000 on it to make it better, why, let's do that, right?
okay. Yeah, it'd be better to have more and not use it than not enough. You know, if it is a lot better with a skid steer, I don't know what a rental on a skid steer runs daily, but I'm sure it's $300 to $500 a day. Do you have any idea on that?
I would think it's probably more than that a day.
I do. It's a little less than that. They only run, depending on the situation, something like 230. They're not terribly expensive.
Okay.
If this is done on a weekend, though, you're gonna get a weekend rate, which is 2.5 days.
Well, we typically have been doing it on Fridays.
Okay.
And two, with the asphalt, if we get the asphalt mix on a Friday afternoon, say, for a Saturday, then it's a little harder to use. But if we have a skid steer, it might actually be easier. So, and then we might have more help on a Saturday, so that has to be all arranged, and that has not been arranged yet.
What's the density of it, Terry? What are you assuming on weight?
Hot mix is 4,000 pounds, cold mix is 2,800 pounds
A yard?
a yard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause 5 yards isn't, or 5 tons is not very many yards.
So yardage equates to 3.5 yards per load. And that seems
my
pretty
guess.
reasonable, looking at the loads that we've unloaded before. So, times 9 loads, it's 31 yards of asphalt. If you divide that by the 32,400 cubic feet of road, if we're doing 2 inches, it doesn't get very far.
Well, not 100% of it has to have that. I mean, there is some remaining, I think. I mean, there's sections of it that are really bad, and then there's sections of it that are not so bad. So,
Well,
But now, Four Points Lane, that's in Kaufman County,
it
right?
is.
So after the first of the year, we'll have a different commissioner.
We will.
So we may be able to do it through Kaufman County after we get a new ILA agreement.
Well, we've been thinking about this. Okay, so if in January, even if we get an interlocal, we'll have to have a January meeting, okay?
To prove it.
It'll be third week in January already. Then in February will be the first month, so it's gonna be freezing weather. We don't know that anything could happen. He'll probably be very buried under. I don't see him doing a whole lot for our town until April at the earliest.
But that does give us time to get the ILA in place
Yes, and,
with the
but
new
I,
commissioner.
I think that if we could do something to help these poor citizens that are, I mean, it's pretty rough. And then look at it later, with the ILA and then maybe.
Well, I guess
yeah.
just kind of coming off Terry's point, which I agree, I mean, it would, ideally, it would be better to have it thicker and a crown, but we're not set up to do that. But the Kaufman County road people may be, and if we were paying them, we would expect to have it thicker and a crown, or the crown down the middle, so that it drains water on each side where, I mean, you guys are doing the best you can, and that's appreciated to everybody. But it would be better if it was done by Kaufman County and done properly, I believe.
Well, for the pothole repairs, we've gotten comments that our volunteers are doing even better than the
Well,
county,
better
but,
than Kaufman,
yeah.
certainly.
Well,
because
no,
that's
better than,
zero.
anyway.
But I guess the point is, you know, there is ways to do it, but we're not set up to do it the proper way. And potholes are different than the major, you know, where we have to go through and do several hundred yards of road at one time. That we, you know, would hopefully have the counties doing.
Hopefully, it's kind of and I do, you know, when I talked to Kelly Lane in October, he said, I can't talk to anybody until November.
Okay, well, that's, I guess, the other point is, it kind of makes it imperative that we start pursuing that as soon as he's in office, because it does take time to get it through the legal process in Kaufman County.
Can we have a special meeting at the 1st of January to get an ILA done?
Well, I mean, I'll have to talk to Mr. Lane to see.
He might be completely buried under, I can
But we can do our part of it, though, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, we can do our, well, we've done it already,
We did all, yeah.
I know.
and so we
Okay.
have the basis of agreement, they just won't do it.
Yeah.
But then the other one, the second point is we want to get it put over like Hunt County, where we don't pay this exorbitant fee for their equipment. Hunt County only charges us fuel and materials, not equipment and labor, because that's considered sunk costs, so to speak. Well, with the new commissioner, we'd like to ask for the same deal, because it's a lot more cost effective for us, not paying those exorbitant costs for the equipment that they were trying to charge us, which is part of the problem, and labor.
So we're not, you know, nothing's guaranteed. We don't know that we'll have that done in
True.
January. So I really, you know,
Well-
before the bad weather hits.
So if we can stay back on this, we need to talk about that, but, Herbert is, if you do the math, 31 yards does about 1 inch. Can volunteers put out 9 dump truckloads in one day?
If we can get in and out of the.
That's a lot of trips to the asphalt.
I think that's,
It's
yeah.
in Terrell, so it's 10 miles away. It depends on the traffic there. Like, you know, I went in there one day and it's backed out from out the road. It's gonna be 3 hours to get in and out. So we couldn't then, but the last time we went, it took us 10 minutes to go in and get it and get load and go. So
Okay.
on a day like that, yeah, we could get probably 8 to 10 loads. But, you're right, I think it needs to be at least a couple inches deep in order to hold.
Yeah, 31 yards. It's 28 without any widening roads. It's 28 cubic yards to do 1 inch on that drive. So
But again, it's not the whole area that needs it. It's certain areas of it. So it's,
I just don't want to put the ceiling at 65 and the guys get out there and say, man, if we could get one more load or something like that. But I also don't think we can do it in one day. I mean, we got some great volunteers, but that's a lot of material to move.
well, and I just talked to Herbert about that this afternoon, and we were saying, yeah, I think we'd have to spread it out like at least 2 days.
I do too.
Will those dump trailers dump that load?
Yes.
Oh, they will? Okay. Because a lot of dump trailers will haul a lot of weight. They don't necessarily dump.
You have to load
Put
it to
it
the
in the
back.
Back, yeah.
Clear up front, it won't.
I guess
So-
we can see how far it gets and
Yeah.
re-vote on it, but just so when everybody knows, that's about what you're going to get.
Well, I'm not opposed to raising it.
Well, we could, if we raised it and then we had more than enough, which, we could always spend it on other roads. If any left over, you want to say that we spend it on another county road that needs it.
What would you propose, Terry? Just up to 10,000?
Yeah, I really like that. And as far as someone mentioned the crown, that's not that difficult to do with that code mix and skid steers. And if you have the right people out there volunteering, to your point, shedding the water is going to be the biggest key to
I mean, the biggest thing
longevity.
right now is just sealing the road up so it doesn't catch
Absolutely.
water, because we're going into the rainy season, and anywhere water gets under that road, it's gonna tear it up. So if we can just cover it,
Yeah.
it's gonna make a big difference.
I mean, there's a lot of residents that live in there, and they need good roads too. I wasn't for the 86,000. Obviously, council wasn't either. But to spend up to $10,000 to serve that many citizens on a road that we've neglected that bad is not a bad purchase.
That's what the money's for.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Okay, wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to spend up to $10,000 to rework Four Post Lane.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, and it looks like that passes unanimously.
We don't have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Mike?
Mike seconded.
You second?
I seconded.
Oh, we just,
Sorry, I did not hear it.
okay. I didn't repeat it. Okay. Okay, number 2, blackjack disposal status update. So we have, on here it says Dick Demean, but we had, going back and forth, it looks like we have, well, we do have Dick Demean. We had Tim Oliver. What do you have on your agenda? we kind of went back and forth. It was going to be Tim, and then it was going to be Dick, and now it's Dick
Yeah, it says
again.
Dick on
So
our
we're
agenda.
good.
Dick.
Okay, good. All right. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dick Demean with Blackjack Disposal. I'm one of the co-owners. It's right in my way. There we go. Blackjack started hauling trash here in the town of Poetry January 1st, 2024. Prior to that, the trash service was franchised, but it was a non-exclusive franchise. There were several different authorized haulers in town. However, some problems started appearing. One is that several of the franchised haulers were not paying the franchise fees associated with their work. And two, a couple of them had fairly unreliable service, which does not sound like that would be the town's problem, but it was, in that they were the ones, the city, or the town was the one being inundated with complaint calls. So one solution was that the service would be changed from a
Couple hours.
a multi-use franchise agreement to a single hauler franchise agreement. When that was proposed, it was a close vote. There were opinions, well thought out opinions on both for and against awarding it to a single franchise hauler. But in the final analysis, a majority of the council members felt that trash collections at the time under one hauler would address both the unremitted franchise fees and the poor collection service. Blackjack started service on January 1st, and after starting service, reliable trash collection was established. Complaints went away almost overnight. Town officials stopped receiving trash collection complaints from residents. The issue regarding franchise fee remittances was also resolved. Franchise fees have been remitted on schedule. For the first 3 quarters of 2024, Blackjack has remitted over $33,000 in franchise fees to the town of Poetry. It is not the hot button issue that it was in December of 2023.
Hallelujah.
In addition to the reliable service and the timely
Point
remittance.
of order.
Yes.
Are we going to talk about the 55-cent increase, or are we going to hash out while we're here?
Oh,
We have a guest here, and so you're going to let him finish.
I understand, but on the agenda is a 55-cent increase, not how we got here.
Okay, so he is our expert, and please don't interrupt him.
Does this apply to the CPI?
Yes, sir. it
Okay,
does.
let me hear it.
all right. I'll try to get to the point more quickly.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We have, in addition to providing the improved service and the more timely remittance of franchise fees, we've provided additional services, which would include picking up illegal dump piles, picking up mattresses that have been illegally dumped, and we've even picked up a boat that was thrown out on the side of the road. We do this not because it's required by the contract. The contract does not require that. We do that because we consider ourselves to be a partner with the city. Now, the total services that we, or the charge for all those services, picking up the trash on the side of the road, picking up the mattresses, picking up the boat, was $0.00. It's something that we did just out of our partnership. So we're now at the anniversary date of our contract. Our agreement allows us to adjust the monthly rate in an amount equal to the consumer price index over the last 12 months. In the last 12 months, the CPI is 2.6%. Therefore, we plan to adjust our rates 2.6% effective January 1st. This will take our base rate from $21 per month to $21.55 a month. There will be a commensurate increase for all lines of service across our agreement. With that said, I'm happy that I can stand in front of you saying that I'm able to report that the transition to the exclusive hauler has been successful with regard to improved service and timely franchise fee remittance. And the true partnership that we have established allows us to provide additional services to the town, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Dick. I will say on this agenda item, the way it's worded is Blackjack disposal status update. Okay, so you're giving us an update and 55% increase. So, so I will say that over the last year, I did not have not a single complaint for the first 6 months. And so that was very welcome. It was not the case before. And he has paid on time or before due date on all remittances. That's been very welcome. We're still trying to collect on somebody else. So, you know, when we're trying to, you know, that's a big part of our budget, obviously. And so that's really key, you know. So I really personally appreciate it. I know Secretary Teresa will say doubly. So we just really appreciate that very much. In the franchise agreement, it does allow the CPI increase. It does have that. It does have a limit, of course. I think it's 3.5, but this at 2.6 is in the agreement that we signed. So.
Did you bring us a CPI for DFW?
I did. I emailed it to the
It's
city.
in the packet. Yeah, it's in the packet.
I didn't get it.
It's right here in the packet.
No, we didn't get that.
You didn't?
I forwarded everything you forwarded to me.
So, Dick, I'm going to applaud your company, and the service has been great. That's just not why we're here. We're talking about the 55% increase. Y'all have done a fabulous job. So we did agree to fall in the CPI index, and that creates an environment that you want to continue to serve this town, and I'm for following that. One, I want to see the CPI, and two, do you have contracts with Greenville and Crandall that's like ours?
I do.
So their rates are in Greenville and Crandall are also going up January 1st?
Well, Greenville is so each contract's a little bit different. In the city of Greenville, it's the anniversary date is October the 1st, and our contract with them did not permit an increase on the first anniversary date. In Crandall, February 1st is the anniversary date there. We've not proposed anything to them for February 1st yet.
Do you plan on going up on Crandall in February?
We do, based on what the CPI is.
Okay.
Of course, I imagine Greenville's a little easier because they're all close together, a little easier to
Well,
service.
I mean, but there's still expenses associated with picking up the trash there. And as, you know, our expenses become more expensive, you know, steel becomes more expensive, tires, I mean, everybody knows things go up. And so we just try to offset that to some extent with the CPI increase. We're not making any more margin or any less margin. We're just kind of keeping the existing margins at the time of the start of the contract.
I mean, is that true though? Because I get CPI is smoothed over all consumers, right?
That's correct.
So I don't know that you can necessarily say we're not making more or less. I'm not fighting the fact that we agreed to the CPI increase, but I don't think you can say that. If fuel prices drop drastically in the next 14 weeks, 16 weeks, are you going to come back and resubmit that, or we're going to stick at this price until the next
We're going to stick at that price, but if it does drop drastically, it'll pull the CPI as a whole down, and you'll have a negative CPI next year, and then it would be reduced.
And we will reduce the price.
If it's a negative CPI, yes, sir.
It is attached to the CPI 100%.
Matched right to it.
Okay.
You didn't see it.
No, I just making the point, I don't think it got mailed out.
It didn't. But I do applaud your company. They've done a
Yeah, I think the service.
Great
is
job.
very good.
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah.
So,
Does this require an action since it's in our contract?
yeah, it's just.
Yeah, y'all's been great. I mean, I'm not surprised by the increase at all when you know it's coming, but it doesn't seem by a lot. I mean, it's hardly anything where I can know about. And y'all are the only trash company that I've ever heard of where people comment on y'all, compliment y'all, people try to get me to switch to you before the town had you. That's something. So, good for y'all. Seems well increase to
Well,
me.
thank you.
But I guess I would point out, that the CPI is a big basket of goods.
It is.
And it's weighted more heavily towards housing, not fuel. If you look at the way the basket is weighted, so a drop.
Which is not in their basket. That's what I'm saying. It's smoothed over a bigger.
Right, but housing has a bigger component than fuel in the CPI. And as a result, I mean, originally, that's why I'd suggested you use the PPI, Producer Price Index.
Right, I remember that.
Right, but because that doesn't have housing weighted into it. But we agreed on the CPI, which is what we agreed on. But just because fuel goes down, you can't expect the CPI to necessarily go down because of the weighting of housing. If housing and lumber and everything else goes up, fuel goes down, well, it might still be.
And I'm not saying that's going to drive their CPI. I'm saying it's going to drive their expense down. So the statement about we're not going to make any more, any less, Dick. I mean, y'all's dump fees and fuel fees and insurance are some of y'all's main contenders.
All those
so
went
that
up
was
with
why I was
right.
making the point. If fuel
Yeah,
goes down,
I don't disagree with you.
Okay, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not relative to the CPI.
But
yeah.
to your point, Mr. Barber, is our landfill price increase that was given to us by Republic Mobile Landfill was greater than 2.6%. And our insurance increase year over year was well over 2.6%.
Said 60%.
I know it's hard to believe, right?
and remind me when this contract is renewed. Is it 2 years?
It's a 4-year contract.
4-year contract. Okay.
And he did submit all the paperwork that Secretary Teresa had asked.
Okay.
They did a good job with that. And they bought 2 new trucks, right?
We want more than that, but the two of them have a possibility of coming through town. So.
Okay, all right, great.
I have to say thank you, because the service has been really good.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
And I personally appreciate the communication is open, and I really appreciate that. So
Sure.
thank you
No,
for that.
like I said, we want to be a partner with the community. We don't want to just be a vendor that rolls into town once a week and picks up some trash and leaves. We like having relationships in town and doing right by the folks.
Well, and after the storm debris, they not only just bought 1 roll-off, they brought 2. So
Right.
that was like really nice, and you went above and beyond, so thank you for that too.
Yep, also, no charge.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you.
So need a vote?
No, I mean, it's already in the agreement, so, but it's just mainly just to communicate with our citizens and with each other on that.
Okay.
So.
Is it an ad hoc? Does it go automatically up in that contract? Do we need to review it?
It's automatic, but I don't like to do it that way. I like to come in and kind of give you an annual update. And
So that being said, a formal approval would be
Make a
better,
motion to
in
approve.
my opinion. Would you rather have
whatever
And
preference
the
of
agreement
council
doesn't
is.
have to be revised. There's no need to have, the agreement doesn't have to be revised. It's already built into the
what
agreement.
tracks this for future councils to review it?
The agreement, the way it's written in the agreement. All right, so number 3, the municipal policy mandate by state bill SB 1893, it prohibition on TikTok for governmental workers. So Governor Abbott signed this into law for the state of Texas in 2022. I didn't know it was actually for cities until actually Saturday, and I was like, oh my goodness, I thought this was for the, just the state and the state workers, but it actually, I was reading it, and it was like, actually does go down to to municipal and county. So we have to do this apparently, and so our legal counsel, Mr. Berman, gave us the policy that we have to enact, and then also the resolution. So,
And this is for all, I guess, phones and computers and
Town assets.
and I did,
town assets.
yes, and I did talk to both our secretaries, and they said it's not a problem.
Okay.
So, and I don't have a
How many
personal
town
TikTok.
computers do we have?
We have 1, 2, 3 town.
This is personal,
Um,
I
that's-
use it for town, but I've
Uh,
never
well,
had
we have-
TikTok, never will.
We have that one over there is the
Yeah.
towns. It has a town still on. So we have 3, but it's not really a problem for this crowd, this group of ladies. So
And are these smart TVs capable of downloading that too?
No, if
I don't
it's
know.
available.
I don't know.
I know
That's a
Facebook-
Josh question.
That's a Josh question. I have no interest in TikTok, so whatsoever. Oh.
It's kind of in line with other, it's prohibiting future councils from doing that. So
Yeah.
if there's a way to put blocks on them, I know my employer has a block where you can't
block on TikTok.
download that
Well, we do
application.
have that on our office computers where you can't download anything without administrative
Okay.
approval.
Alrighty.
What it does say under 6, under compliance, that will verify compliance using security system reports and feedback, blah, blah, blah. So we probably are obligated to have somebody look through all of the equipment that's affected and tell us that we're good or not good.
Can an auditor do that? When they do the audit?
They pretty much, we upload to them. They don't, I mean, unless we ask them, they don't really do
On-site?
on-site. Now, she did offer today, but it was kind of crazy today. But yeah, I don't think they get into that.
Can we self-audit?
Well,
Yeah, it doesn't-
we can do a
it
check. I
doesn't
mean,
have
we
to
can
be an
just,
independent. It
yeah.
just says that somebody's gonna take responsibility for declaring us compliant or not compliant.
Well, I think it, because the mayor and town secretary have to sign, that puts the onus on the two of y'all
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
sure that. Now, I have to tell you, I have no idea what TikTok is. I just know the name.
So you probably don't have it.
Not that I know of.
If you would like, we can do like at least a sweep. I can ask initially a sweep on that and make sure that none of, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I know what we don't have it on these,
Yeah.
or at least on the secretary computer. I mean, Josh would have to, well, I assume with the administrator, like if I wanted to download something, it would be blocked, and I assume Josh would be the one that would have to.
Well, yeah, it's a
approve
pretty
the
simple
download.
deal for us. A town like Rockwall or something
Right.
with a lot of
Like
employees
if we
is
had
different.
set personal, like office cell phones,
Yeah.
things like that, that's why I think what.
It should be
becomes a big
pretty,
issue.
pretty quick and easy.
Yeah, yeah. For us, it's just these, and
And then the
I
two
don't
of
even have it
y'all,
on my cell phone,
the
so.
two of y'all sign off and then we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we need a motion to approve, I'll make a motion, we approve it. I
Second.
read it, and if Mr. Berman wrote it, I'm sure it's right. I couldn't tell any difference.
Yeah. Second.
all right, we have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake to approve the new policy against TikTok and for our governmental entity here. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously.
It's just a propaganda machine for the Chinese.
Yep.
Okay.
So you don't want
I don't speak Chinese or Mandarin, so. I'm
All right,
okay.
number 4, update on the prospective Bishop Airfield LLC MUD. So some of you were at the meeting on Wednesday, a week ago Wednesday. Gosh, it seems longer than that. Tom, do you want to give me, I didn't,
Well, I
you
can
wanna
talk
give
about what
comment?
I talked
Yeah.
about. I mean, there was, I guess, Judge Rankin and his wife both talked a little bit about, you know, the issues and what's going on. But the part that I talked about was this, the problem of you can't have housing over hazardous waste. That's by law. In the early 70s, the federal government passed the RCRA laws, which is Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, and then there's been amendments. Basically, the environmental laws are split to air, water, and soil. the RCRA is for soil. And so you can't have housing on directly any property where there's contaminated soil unless it's been reclaimed. Now, if they were putting in a parking lot or a warehouse, it probably wouldn't be a big deal and they could get it approved. But this is beyond TCEQ, actually. This is federal. And so they have to go in and first locate the tanks. And turns out that we think now there's 2 tanks, one for kerosene or jet fuel, and the second one for leaded gasoline. You have to locate the tanks. And by the way, I've been talking with TCEQ, both in Austin and in their regional office over in Fort Worth. The guy with the regional office called me back. He's the one that's supposed to come out and do the survey. And then depending on what he finds and says, then they will issue a letter to the developer that he has to do, I guess, 3 things. One is that he has to remove the tank by a licensed company. He can't do it. He can't touch it. And then secondly, they have to do drilling to see if there's any leakage or if it's gotten into the soil or worse, the water table. So that's got to be done by drilling. And if there is any leakage, then the licensed company has to come out and dig out all that soil. And I'm not sure how deep you have to go now because it depends on how deep the contamination is, but you got to dig it out. And the reason it gets contaminated is because we have sandy loam. In sandy loam, hydrocarbons will migrate through the sand until it gets to the clay. And when it gets to clay, it'll stop. Well, so just because you don't find it in the sand doesn't mean you don't have it. You got to drill enough holes to determine where it is. And I know this from experience. I've done a lot. So anyway, I put this in my comments to TECQ, and then I reviewed all this with the TECQ person out of Mike Pence out of Fort Worth, who's going to be doing this. I also called a company in Tyler that does the labs. It's called TEEC, I believe, ETTL. Anyway, it's a company that does the soil analysis and drilling and all that, and he basically confirmed the same thing. There really is no choice. They have to do this. It's a federal law, and TCEQ is the one that implements it. So the TCEQ was to come out this week and do it, and they had asked if I would be on site, and I said, yeah, I'd be happy to show them where we think based on the GPS data and on other things, where we think the tanks are. Then he called back, and he says, oops, I've been told, or we have been told, that you cannot be on site. Only the owner of the property and the TCEQ. I said, really? And he said, yeah, that's what we were told, which sounds like the owner's lawyer told them. To me, that was my interpretation, because it wasn't him, because before that, he had been asking me to be on site. He said he needed help finding it. And he said, furthermore, we were told that we can't dig on the soil and we can't do anything to use it. I said, what about a metal detector? He said, we were told we can't use a metal detector. Again, that sounds like the developer's lawyer talking. And so I said, well, will we get any your reports or documentation? He said, absolutely. That's all public records. And so whatever he finds, and then any letter he sends off to the owner, well, we should get. And he said he would email it to me, which of course I'll share with everybody in the council. So anyway, that's where we stand. And he said they were trying to get it done this week. So I was going to call tomorrow, because it's the end of the week, this guy and see, his name is Mike Pace, P-A-C-E, and see if he's gotten it done. And if he has, find out what the results are. If he hasn't, because we know there are tanks there, then, I'll go to, I know people in the local EPA in Dallas, and so I'll talk to them, because we know, and we may have to do some litigation ourselves on this, because by law, they cannot do this without following the RCRA laws, which require first removing the tanks, and then doing the soil test, and then doing any kind of removal of the soil if that's found. So this is a long way from getting resolved, and it appears to me that the developer is fighting it. He's fighting what we're trying to do by law. So we've got the law, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be done quick and easy. So we'll just see where it happens, and I hear from the the guy Mike Pace at TCEQ Region 4 in Fort Worth, then we'll know what the next step has to be. Anyway, it's not going to be smooth and easy because the developer has a lot of money at stake. And there's nothing, I went through the documents that they submitted. There's nothing in their submittal that refers to these tanks. Yet we know, and actually that one of the people that flew in and out of that field that we've been talking to after the meeting, he confirmed, yes, he knows where the tanks are. They do have the tanks, there's 2 of them, and that as far as we can tell, they're still there. And even the TCEQ said their records show the tanks are still there. So we know that, so there's going to be some issues, that it's not going to be easy, and the developer, of course, doesn't want to do it. But if he goes ahead and does it and puts housing on it and there is leaks that it's found later, well, it is enormous cost. And I know from doing it in the past that no bank will lend money, or no financial institution will lend money until you've shown that there is no environmental contamination in the soil, particularly if there's housing. If it's strictly a warehouse, there's a lot more leniency, but not for housing. So we've still got a lot to do. The developer isn't, I don't think, being necessarily cooperative, but that doesn't mean that we have the law on our side. And so I think we have to keep pursuing it. And it's going to take some time to do that. And I have to say, I've got a PE license. I cannot not do this. Because I'm liable if there is something down the road because I have a license and I haven't pursued it. That is the law if you have a license. So I'm going to keep pursuing it, not just because I have a license, but because it's the right thing to do.
Well, we're glad you do have that license. It gives you
Well-
that expertise. We're really grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Did I hear you right? You said we may have to litigate it?
Well, somebody may have to litigate against the...
You're not saying the town.
Well, I don't know,
It
Terry.
is in our
That's up to the
HEJ.
council. You know, I'd raise it, but I certainly wouldn't
And it-
approve it because it's going to be expensive. But if not us, who would? Would it be EPA, which is, I guess, Region 6, and Dallas? And I do have a good friend he's now retired from the Region 6 EPA, but he was assistant to the head, so I'm going to call him about this. I've worked with him on another contamination case like this down by Houston. So he's well aware of what the law is and what can be done and how it's done.
So if this ties in with 1445 and y'all, everybody votes to give this to the county, then
put it on the county.
then put it on the county
Well, that's in Hunt County, though.
to litigate it though.
It's Hunt County, yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if they do the right thing, they'll follow the federal RCRA laws.
Okay.
If they don't, then we're going to have to take it another step.
You know, one of the things you said, Tom, that concerns me a little bit, and I'd encourage us in this pursuit, however we go, that we be the ones that follow the law. Right? We be the ones that follow the rules. So you said you were going to meet TCEQ on the property. Well, that's trespassing.
Well, they
You don't-
asked me to.
I know, but you don't have any right to enter that property, and I don't know if TCEQ has any right to enter that property.
Yeah, they
either.
do. They told me they do have the right.
I'd be
It's-
careful because I think the town could end up in litigation in the bad way. I mean, it's still, I don't like Bishop Field and what's happening there any more than anybody else, but I am huge on private property owner rights.
Well,
And I don't think we should tread all over them, because if you showed up on my property with somebody I didn't know, it wouldn't go
Well,
well.
I think that's what he's saying is that's not gonna happen.
yeah, so it's
Oh,
not going
no,
to.
it's not, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I think we need to be very
Yeah.
careful. The ends don't justify the means. I know we're all against this, we're absolutely opposed. We need to follow the rule of law, we need to do this correctly, and make sure that we don't accidentally end up in a bad spot.
Noted. Okay, any other comments? So I will say, we do have the sheet out on in the vestibule here. If you haven't filed a complaint and you'd like to do so, the information of that, you can see me after, or you can get one of those flyers. I think last count, they had 217 or something. Their goal is 1,000 comments / complaints, so. All right.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Tom. Oh my goodness, I mean, this development would impact the community more than anything else we've seen in poetry so far. So you taking care of that, have the expertise. Thank you. You're on your way to become the hero of poetry.
Oh, it's a long way. It's a long road.
Oh, man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, nothing is resolved now, Simeon. It's gonna take a lot of effort.
Hey, as long as we're throwing blockades in their way, that's already a win in my book.
Well, we got it. The win is for them to follow the law, the federal law. And we'll see. It's gonna take some effort.
Okay, any other comments on? Okay,
If you have further questions, I can speak, Tom and I can speak to anyone after the meeting.
okay, moving on to
To number 5, a resolution authorizing submission for
Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application to the Texas Department of Agriculture. So, so apparently, I talked with an expert on the grant programs, because it is very new to me. But he said, great news, this year, they did something they have never done. They made it 7 to 8 pages. I'm like, what? I could do that. And he goes, exactly. He said, in years past, they had you to jump through all these hoops. You had to do all these studies. You had to, go door to door and get all this information. And then you throw your name in the hat. And then if you're thrown out, then you did all that work and went to all that work and expense. And it was just kind of a waste. So now they've changed it up now, where the only thing we have to, provide a resolution, and then we provide the 7 to 8 pages. Then we get to throw our name in the hat, and then they select based on. You can see they have a pointage system, and because we haven't received any kind of grant, we get 60 points. Where if you've received 1 in 3 fund cycles, you get 40 points. If you get 2, it's 20 points, and if you've had 3 in 3 fund cycles, you get 0 points. So it's a point system, and so and one thing he suggested is go for the gusto, go for the full amount is $750,000. He said go for it. You can always go down, but you can never go up. So he said just put it's 5% for our population size. So that means that if it's $750,000 grant money, it's a gift, but then you have to match 5%. So that 5% would be $37,500. So.
It talks in here, Tara, and what we were given that, Town of Poetry commits to dedicating no less than 51% of grant funds for activities identified by the state planning region as first priority. What are those? What kinds of things can this money be spent on?
Road refurbishment, it can be for, they did have some of, and part of this is, it's like culverts, drainage issues, some of it actually said parks, but of course I was keyed in on roads, but a lot of engineering for roads, drainage, that kind of thing.
Because when I read it, it talks about helping low to moderate income persons
so
help avoid blight in the community.
Okay, so the 51%, so if you have a stretch of road, 51% have to be at moderate to low income.
Okay.
So the moderate income, I was looking at the, because it varies per county. So for instance, Hunt County was, it was their threshold for 3 persons. It could be 1 adult and 2 kids or 3 adults. It didn't matter. 3 persons in a household. It was like up to, I think he said like 79,000 combined income. So I'm like, looking at several of our roads, I'm like, I don't know for sure, but I think at least 51% of our people in the area. You look at the stats, I'm like, yeah, we can so do that.
How do we prove
How do we know that?
Are they going to give us their tax returns? People.
Well, that's the thing. Then once you, and they've changed it up. He said this cycle is different than other cycles. In the past, you had to spend all the money up front. You submit your name in the hat. You get your resolution. You fill out your 7, 8 pages. Then, if you are chosen through the pointage system, you're chosen. Then you can hire a firm to kind of help you collect all this information, or you can, get into the nitty gritty. And what you have to do is, it said they do surveys, they go door to door. If people don't comply, they don't have to, but you do have to have, I think he said, at least 80% compliance on a certain road. And then you come up with your schematics, and you have to have, like I said, you have, then the hard work gets started. But just to throw your name in the hat is the easy part now, apparently. And so the deadline is December 9th to do that, and so that's why you're seeing that tonight.
And I guess I didn't find that in my packet, Mike. What? I'm curious on what it all
That
can be.
page is
spent.
something
that's
I pulled
different.
myself.
Oh,
The others are
okay.
Stuff we've got. I
Yeah.
just wondered what the program even was.
Yeah, what it's going to be
And what
spent
these,
on.
what
what's
so-called priority projects are.
Yeah.
So he said to make sure you do the first priority, and he, so the first priority, I'm not sure, I don't, I don't understand why it says that, but he said that's what the wording that you need to use. So, yeah, I haven't had a lot of time to delve into the nitty gritty of it all, but the one thing we have to have is the resolution from council on this. And then we do have, of course, you saw this? Of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
have
have that.
Okay.
I didn't recognize that.
Yeah,
page
and
either.
I have a whole folder of the documents, and I have read through it, but I think I need to just be able to digest a lot of it. Once we have a resolution, then we can actually enter the data. I'm still waiting on it. They say it's easy, but I had to apply a week ago for a SAM.gov number. In order to get grants, you have to apply for a SAM.gov number, and then it's a 5-day approval process to get the number that you can even go online to do this. So it's not exactly easy, as he said. So I'm finding it's a little bit of a rabbit trail.
So you're asking us to approve submitting the grant or permission to submit the grant, but also committing the 37.5?
Yes, now, when I did my preliminary figures, I'm only seeing that, and I could be wrong, because if you hire a professional, you're going to have that expense, right? I'm seeing maybe for the roads that I see need it and the projects that I see, maybe 400,000. So that would be 5% of 400,000.
Are we
But
talking about using this just for roads? I guess is where.
now
I
it
need
does
clarity.
have, well, I mean, they do have parks in there too, but I don't know that we have that need
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
land acquisition and all that.
I mean, you could, once I get into it, I'll know more, but he said basically you go for the gusto, because I was like, yeah, I don't see more than 400,000, and I'm thinking of some of the roads that I'm looking at that would meet that criteria, right? Medium income to
So
lower
you
income.
have some ideas of roads that
Have some ideas, but
I mean, this
it's
is
all, I guess,
Poverty Road right here.
323 maybe,
It's been referred to that in this council before.
right, and then for,
You remember?
Four Post and Gate Lane maybe.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
But when it says medium income, that really changes it up, right? And they were very generous when they, like $80,000, really? I thought that was pretty generous, so.
Is that per person in a household?
No, that's the combined.
Combined.
Combined,
It's pretty low.
so.
It's considered moderate.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what, if we approve this, what we're committing to. So are we committing money, we're committing permission?
Where does the
to
money
file
come
it?
from? Can it come from our road fund?
Of course, if it's.
If we use it all for roads, I think we can.
If it's
I
engineering
think
for
that
roads
kinda
and all for
makes
roads.
us tie down this council or future
We
council
have
to use it on
to-
roads.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, yeah. And this is just this
One cycle, it's just for this,
Right.
and one shot at it. So we give this, we submit it, I mean, if we get chosen, they have the number system,
Well,
then you'll see it again on a future agenda, of course, and then we can talk about it further. Hopefully, that would be great if we could, it'd be great if we qualify. But it would take some work, and it would, but I certainly don't think certain roads would qualify at all, We have some very well-to-do citizens, and,
They're gonna
but
have
there
bad
are,
roads.
but,
Go
anyway.
figure. Okay, well, it does say, it heartens me a little bit in 4, it talks about the 37.5, and then it said, with the specific usage and funding source to be determined prior to any award of grant funding.
This is the very first steps, because there's a lot more steps from what I understand down the road. And so if we get chosen, you'll be seeing more
Yeah, 'cause I
of
think
these
the council
things.
needs to be involved, whether it's us or another council,
Absolutely.
in the detail of which project we pick. Do they meet the criteria of the grant, you know, all of that, because we want to be compliant. We don't want to end up having to pay back
That's right.
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars because we put it in the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, my whole goal was, let's take care of our roads. And so if there's 3 roads in town that this will qualify for,
Yeah, well,
Then-
whatever we fix up is fixed up, so that's good.
yeah.
And do you have to do the whole road, or is there a section of the road?
Only the poor people.
Well, that's what I'm, that's what I'm,
Stop before the rich guys.
well,
stop.
that's what I'm saying. Can we determine that? I
it
mean,
has-
if we get into this and we hire somebody to do this survey and we find out, well, if we go another 2 miles down this road, we've blown the program. But if we stop it here, can we,
You can have sections of road, I'm gonna
Okay,
talk to
with
the
the-
expert, you can have sections. Now, if you have one rich person, that doesn't disqualify the whole road. It has to be 51%
okay,
of the citizens on that road, or then the 51% of the households on that road have to qualify, is
Qualify.
moderate to low.
well, that makes it a little easier being
So
51%.
that's why I'm like, I think there's some possibility here.
Yeah, because if they throw out the other 49%, then it doesn't matter what they make.
I'll be impressed if people admit to their income.
Yeah, right.
Well, I know poetry does have a
Can't
lot of
even ask me
guarded
how much
people.
I made, I wouldn't tell you, I mean, it's-
Well, I guess it depends if
Certain
they're
roads-
going to protect the data and they're not going to reveal the data, they're only going to tell us that that we qualify on this road. Then, if we can
well, I
assure
would
the
think
citizens,
census data probably has some approximation.
that's what I'm saying. If it's done like that, then
Regional, I don't know that it'd be as detailed as roads or something like that.
yeah.
There are, I will say this, there are companies, engineering companies, that will do the door-to-door work, and then it's kept with them. It's like a third party, so it's not like any of us would know the
Is that
data.
paid for with grant money? Mm-hmm. Or is that paid for by us?
Well, that
I
would be,
bet we're paying for it.
well,
That would be my.
that would be part, my understanding is that that would be part of the whole picture. They don't charge you until all of it's completed.
Well, I think we have more to talk about on this, but I don't want to stop the
Absolutely.
process. So I would be okay with passing it, but I'm with Mike. We really have to nail down some details.
Yeah, we can see what the next
absolutely
steps are.
agree.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
let's throw our name in the hat, and then we get lucky and get it, then we'll figure out what we do with it.
I mean, you can always withdraw,
That's right.
but you can't.
Or not spend any of the money.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that talked about this over here a few months ago, he made the point, it's a long, long process, so we might all be dead and gone when it happens, so.
Well, they have to fund every 2 years, so it does take it is a long process, but it does
So
happen
we need
every
to approve
cycle.
the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to approve this resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Blake, second by Anderson to approve the resolution for submitting the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program application. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Okay. All right.
All right, that's what you stayed up late for.
I didn't waste my
Okay,
printer
Town of
ink on it.
Poetry flag ideas. So Secretary Ann got this online this week, I think. So we have, I think, some different ideas here. And then we're soliciting, if you look at the webpage, it says these two are just ideas. And then you can submit your own if you have your ideas. So if we have any artists, we're inviting them to come and try and you get bragging rights on designing the town flag. So I think the last time we brought this up, Councilmember Blake had said, hey, I like and I think that is a nicer look. I think to have either the bar across it, but any feedback on that from council?
Well, I'm the one that did this since 1845 because that felt political to me. I'm sorry, but it does. And so I like this because that's factual. That's history if we're going to put something on it. But like I say, it's an open thing, so if anybody else has ideas, then.
Well, I guess my only comment is I liked it, but I wouldn't say since, I'd just say 1845.
Okay.
Established.
Well, it was established on the seal in 2020 is what it says there. Yeah, I don't mind that either. I just thought that brings the history back into it.
Yeah.
but since it's open to everybody, we just still need to keep listening to it.
But then if you just put 1845, then what does that reference? I think it needs to say something, like, I actually like that. Do you like
That could
the,
be the population, I mean.
you're right.
Okay.
What's that mean?
Okay, you can say established 1845, whatever.
Or
Well-
do you want to
But I-
say,
But we're on the seal. It says established 2020 at the bottom of
Yeah.
the seal. That's our.
Whoa.
yeah,
I mean, that's what our seal says. Look on this.
oh, established 2020 it does.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Did
what
you say
official
founded?
establishment.
That's when we.
I think that's
Yeah.
what we've said before.
I
It's
see.
founded.
Oh, founded 1845?
But-
Would you rather say that?
Oh, that's
I don't
fine.
say that.
That's good.
That's a different meaning than established.
Yeah.
Founded,
Founded.
1845?
Founded. Yeah, I like that.
It's a longer word.
That doesn't bother me.
Founded 1845?
Yeah.
Okay, any preference on whether it's purple or green for that stripe across?
I like this top left one
That's
right
that's my pick too.
That's the one
It's
I like
easier to
as
see
well.
the white.
Yeah.
I also like that top left one.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any preference, Simeon, whether it says
He said top left.
since
Oh.
1845 versus founded 1845?
I like founded 1845 better, but I mean, I wouldn't even put any words on it. If I was making up the flag, I don't like words on flags most of the time because they're hard to read if they're in motion or even down. But I mean, it really doesn't matter that much.
Well, I like founded because that is a definite word.
Okay. Yeah.
What explains the
45.
1845?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your point, it could be anything.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be anything.
Okay. All right, so at least in this council,
Maybe-
we have an opinion that,
Yeah. Maybe
that-
get Lauren to make it up with founded.
okay,
Yeah.
and then we can bring it back next month maybe, and maybe by then
Yeah,
we'll
we
have some citizens that.
submissions.
Okay, all right. Moving on. Number 7. Okay, update on the 1445 agreements. Okay, so Rockwell Hunt and Kaufman County. So remember, I don't remember which meeting it was, we decided to send them all out to the counties, the Rockwell one, because it was.
One version.
One version,
everybody
yes.
hoped
Yeah.
that they would approve.
We were hopeful. Well, Judge New has been buried in a lawsuit with the Med Number 10. He's also was busy with the budget. Last time I talked to him, I emailed him again. He's like, "Oh man, I dropped the ball on that." So I think they're running it through there. So they're getting ready to approve their own, right?
Is that Hunt County you're talking about?
That's
It's
Rockwell
Rockwell.
County.
It's
So-
their form, so they'll probably.
It's probably a shoe-in, okay, since they wrote it. So, and we, approved their version, and I told them, hey, we really liked your version. So I think that's a go. Haven't gotten any formal, signed anything yet. With Hunt County, I called Judge Stovall. Well, I emailed it to him, and I emailed it again, and he said he's trying to get a hold of the attorney to see if he'll go with it. And that's, of course, Daniel Ray. So now what he said was Daniel Ray's now also the new attorney with Rockwall. So he goes, oh, they'll probably go for it. I'm like, well, I think that's before his time. So I don't know. That's kind of a big question mark. We don't know yet on Hunt County. In Kaufman County, I think I said initially Deborah Bonish sent back one that said they weren't wanting to handle things in town too. And I said, I don't think that's going to go over with our council. So she sent back this document that you have in your packet. And so I did talk.
You lost Simeon, by the way.
Oh.
Simeon, let's try him again.
Yes.
Are you there?
We're paused.
I am.
We can't see you.
You paused.
Okay.
We can't see you.
Well,
You paused.
It only counts if we
You
see
wanna-
you.
what?
I'd hate for you.
Want up and try again?
Yes, let's try this again.
You're gone now.
So I guess my comment or question was, this only applies to Kaufman, and the one that's really important is the Hunt County one, because of Bishop Field right now.
Well,
Is that right?
other than they don't really have any subdivision laws that. Hunt County, I mean,
They don't have any?
well, they don't,
Are you
they're
there?
not strong like Kaufman's.
I am. I can see y'all for the first time. Oh, and I see you can't see me. Maybe you've clicked the camera button on accident or something?
Maybe. Let's see.
That's the microphone.
That's the microphone button.
Yeah, I already.
That's
did
you.
that.
Now it's off.
Yeah, but it's his camera that's off.
Be on.
Yeah, there
There
you
you are.
go. There you
Got it.
are.
You can vote now.
All right, we got to start this conversation with you here present, where everyone can see you and we can see you. Okay. So with this agreement, I sent my questions to our attorney, David Berman, and I basically said on this paragraph, I was like, well, that's not applicable because we haven't had a prior agreement. Then he didn't have a problem at all with this agreement. I did have a question on this page. Well, it doesn't have a page. This one here, it's on 5. I'm like, what's Exhibit A? And how we do amended entry only. And he said, well, that should be fine. I said, we don't have the ability to, we don't typically do ordinances. He said, well, if you do amended, you give them what you have. And then on the thoroughfare plan, what he was saying, how did he, I had number 9, that's come up before, and I know that we had concerns.
But that would only apply to the ETJ though, which if they're gonna do something in the ETJ, we really can't stop them from doing anything, can we?
What he said was, the effect of this provision will only be that a developer will need to dedicate land for roadways and roadway expansions in our ETJ territory based on what the plan says. It does not mean that we are allowing the county to build a roadway through Poetry without our consent.
Yeah.
And then he said, the law requires that we have a 1445 agreement with the county. The provision in the agreement that deals with the thoroughfare plan is not the town's approval of the county's plan. It simply authorizes the county to impose the plan's requirement in the plat approval process, which is kind of critical. If the plan shows a road going through property, does not mean the county will have authority to build it. We still have exclusive jurisdiction over all roadways in the town. So our attorney doesn't have a problem with this agreement as it's written.
Well, so back to one of the things we discussed, Tara, at one of the rounds of this, we talked about parity for all of our citizens, right? So if we have a different agreement in one of the 3 counties, those citizens are conceivably going to be treated differently than the citizens. And I don't know what ability we have to change that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
That was one of the points made by citizens, and I've heard it a couple of times that, well, great, so if you live in Kaufman, you're gonna get one set of rules. If you live in Hunt, you're gonna get a different set of rules.
And if you live in the town, you don't have rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if you're like Simeon, where you've got both, Hunt and Kaufman.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I don't know that we can, I mean, we tried doing something by sending them a singular document to all the counties and
We're not the only town that's in multiple counties. It'd be interesting to know how they reconcile this.
We hadn't sent this revised one to Hunt and Rockwall County to see if they would.
But is this the one we want?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just saying
it's not.
if this is what Kaufman County says we'll only accept, we haven't sent it to Hunt and Rockwall.
To me, this is more onerous than the other 2.
Yes.
By far.
Rockwall's is simple. I mean,
Yeah, that's
basic.
Well, and
Well, we
I will,
liked it, yeah.
as I said before, I mean, I'm already getting notification about, and we had that citizen who was trying to sell 2.5 acres, you know, that's partially in the town and partially in the GD. He's already having to jump through hoops for Kaufman County on all these things. So,
And what's he having to do specifically?
well, I don't know exactly.
Thought they were having to replat that.
But
He's
that
having to
doesn't matter
replat
if
and-
you're in the county at all, you have to replat.
Yeah.
But
That's,
he's
That
in our,
doesn't have anything to do with this.
he has land in the ETJ.
But if he's in the county, you have to replat it.
it's
This
a
Well,
county.
well, you have to do it anyway. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't really change a whole lot.
well, my concern is I'd like to have this done before the first of the year so that at least the county thinks we're trying to have some
Right.
good faith. So if we go for an ILA that we're at least working with them, you know, if we don't do this, then maybe they don't want to sign an
Well,
ILA, you know.
for what you're saying, Deborah Bonner is the one that also works with us on the ILA for the roads.
Yeah, I mean, we're required by law to do it, and the attorney doesn't have a problem with this. I know it's different. I don't know how, I don't see that, we've tried to make it all the same.
Well, Kaufman is, I mean, they're clear in the way I read this now, this is the only thing we're willing to offer.
That's right, yeah.
We sent it to
This is
them.
what we use,
Right.
this is what you'll sign, and that's it, end
And-
of conversation.
To be fair to them, that they send this to all their towns in their county, so they're not picking on us.
Right, no, I don't think so.
Well, I guess, you know, I read it and I thought, yeah, I like Rockwell better, but on the other hand, like you just said, Mike, I mean, if they said, this is it, take it or leave it, well, what choice do we have? We need to take it.
Yeah.
The state mandates that we do it.
And especially since Mr. Berman has read it, and he didn't see any legal problem with it, and I'm not a lawyer, but I read it, and, well,
Only I'm not a fan. I was a fan of Rockwell's, but like I say, reading her email, this is our only choice.
yeah, that's what she said.
Or we choose not to follow the law. And I'm not really willing to do
Well,
that.
and
I
Mr.
mean,
Berman made clear we have to.
yeah. Well, I can
Well,
tell
it's
you.
already been 3.5 years. I think it's time we just,
Yeah,
Well-
I'd make a motion, we accept it.
Second.
okay? We have a motion by Anderson, second by Blake, to accept the interlocal agreement for land use regulations with Kaufman County. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay, and it passes 3-2. Okay. Okay, so that is all of our items on our agenda. So the time is 8:13 p.m. Meeting adjourned.